Hey guys, my name is Jonas. I'm currently a senior here at Presbyterian College, and I have the honor today of talking with Gonzalo. Gonzalo is an associate on the equity derivatives research team at Bank of America Securities. He graduated from PC in 2014 with dual degrees in math uh, and economics. And he actually went on after PC to get his PhD from UNC Chapel Hill in economics. So Gonzalo, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Happy to go back, even if virtually, and talk to PC students.
Sure. And I know I really appreciate your time, and I know everyone else does too. So, kind of just kick it off a little bit. Can you kind of talk about your academic background, kind of how you got from PC to UNC Chapel Hill, and then to Bank of America, and kind of what your current job is?
Yeah, for sure. So I graduated from PC in 2014. I'm originally from Spain, grew up there, came to the US basically to play tennis. So I played in the tennis team at PC all 4 years. Um, Really good experience, very different from where I grew up in Madrid, but still super rewarding, and I hold PC really close to my heart. So as Jonas said, I majored in math and econ. Went through, like, at least in my head, 4 or 5 different majors I wanted to do from international studies. I think I did physics. I did like the physics for major sequence, hoping I would do physics at some point. Ended up deciding what I wanted to do was math and then something in the social sciences side. And that's how I ended up with math and econ together, which ended up being the perfect combination to go into grad school, since the PhD in economics is a pretty quantitative degree. So to be honest, up until probably early my senior year, I didn't think I was going to go to grad school. I was hoping to just get a job either in the typical, like, big consulting or banking or accounting even firm in the US. But probably because of my visa, not issues, but like the fact that I was foreign and, it was harder for me. There's already some challenges I will probably talk about getting a job at a big firm out of a small school. But for me, it was a little extra challenging. So I ended up deciding to, I wanted to keep learning, wanted to keep going, and I got the chance to go to UNC, which was a great school. And from then I just, I did my 4-year PhD there. I focused on international finance and more from the macroeconomic side of things. But also pretty early on, I figured out I didn't want to be a professor. I didn't want to leave the academic life. I found it a bit too lonely, to be honest. Like, I'm a little more of a team player, like working in teams, like the fast pace of financial markets, which is what I'm doing now. And so, from pretty early on, I figured out my best outcome would be to try to get the type of job that I was trying to get out of PC, but just, with a PhD next to my name and UNC next to my name. And that honestly made things a lot easier. So I graduated in 2018 from UNC. I had interned at a hedge fund over the summer of 2017, just through calling a bunch of UNC alumni, which I'm sure Jonas will bring up, like the networking side of getting a job. Had interned at a hedge fund and managed to get an internship as well at Bank of America the summer before I graduated. In New York City, in Midtown, in a team called Research, or a department within Bank of America called Research, which I can expand on in a minute. And I've been there for 2 years. I graduated and I got the job to come back, and I've been in the same team since then.
Very cool. So, can you kind of talk about kind of what your job is now, and then what that looks like?
Yeah. So what is research? There are basically two reasons that these banks have research departments. And by these banks, I mean the bigger investment banks out there. You can think of Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, etc. We in research, we provide clients with market commentary, trade recommendations, just general analysis and outlooks of different financial assets and different macroeconomic environments. And we also kind of serve as a bit of a marketing branch for the bank. So I don't know if any of you turn on CNBC, you have the usual 5 or 6 people blabbing all day, but then every now and then they'll bring someone from, say, Bank of America, like the I don't know, biotech analyst from Bank of America just issued a buy recommendation in this stock, and they put him on there, and you see the headline underneath, Bank of America is bullish, this stock, price target, blah, 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 and they have this guy or girl on for whatever, 3, 4, 5 minutes, providing his thesis on a particular stock or a particular sector. That serves in a way as a way of marketing, hey, we are Bank of America, we are involved in these products. It'd be great if you, investor who's watching the show, would come and trade with us and pay us a commission to do so, right? So there's a bit of a marketing aspect to it, but a lot of it is based on, again, on providing a view on either a specific stock or a sector or an asset. So in my case specifically, I'm in the equity derivatives research group, which is probably one of the more quantitative and less familiar sectors within research that you guys might be. What is an equity derivative? A derivative is really anything that uses an underlying as into the pricing function of it. So its price is based on the price of something else. That's the easiest way of saying it. So you guys may have heard of options and futures, swaps. These are the types of products that we deal with. So a lot of products are used for hedging, which means like protecting a certain position from, either a big loss or a big upside. So a lot of our job is to help our clients understand how to use these derivatives to help put their portfolios together, to help create trades, create certain exposures to different assets that they're not able to do without the use of derivatives. And I can give some examples in a little while as well, if you want, Jonas.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful, and I think a lot of people probably may have heard of futures and options, but the other stuff not so much. So,
Yeah.
you said you work with a lot of different people on a pretty relatively quantitative team. What does your average day at work look like?
Good question. So the main goal for us is this publication that we put together once a week, that goes out to something like 5,000 different clients. In it, we usually try to include 1, 2, 3 trades that can come from different regions. So I work in the US group, but there's a European group, Hong Kong. There's someone in Hong Kong doing Asia as well. So we kind of all come together once a week to put out this publication that, again, goes out to all these clients with the goal to interact with those clients at a deeper level throughout the week. So for example, we'll publish something on Monday night. We'll spend a lot of time on Tuesday and Wednesday interacting with clients and asking questions about the report we just put out, trying to ensure the salespeople within Bank of America understand the publication well and are able to share it, promote it with the right clients. And then the rest of our time is really spent on trying to come up with the next idea, the next publication, the next project. So we do a lot of data analysis, a lot of visualizations, charts, a lot of writing. It's something that I wasn't really expecting until I actually got to see it, but I'm really happy I get to do a lot of writing. I enjoy writing, and it's kind of fun to try to put these complex topics into a few words as possible while still giving it as much sense as possible. A lot of our clients get hundreds of emails a day from different sell side firms, from different banks. And a key part of our job is trying to stand out in 5, 10, 15 seconds that a client might actually be reading our email or a report. So yeah, it's a really good combination of writing, of a lot of obviously quantitative work, and a lot of thinking and reading and just trying to keep up with what's going on in markets, which honestly I would do as my hobby if I didn't work here anyway. So it's pretty cool that I get to spend a big chunk of my day proactively thinking about, hey, what are markets doing? Why is this happening? Who should care about what's going on? And how do we make sure we stay in touch with all of this when we publish our stuff?
It sounds like a really holistic job where you have to deal with a lot of different moving parts and to put together a final work product. So
Yeah, no, for sure.
yeah. So to kind of shifting gears a little bit here, for current PC students, you've obviously come a long way from your time when you were a PC student. What kind of advice can you give to someone who's thinking maybe following in your footsteps, or trying to go to a big company or financial firm or something like that?
Yeah, that's a key question. It's a question that I wish more people reached out to ask me personally, because that's one of the big things that I think are necessary. And I think it's important to, like, we don't have to hide it. It's hard to get a job at a big company from a small school. Okay. And I think it's important to go into it being aware of it. You're fighting against not being a target school where recruiters are literally flocking over the spring semester trying to find, the next Harvard grad that will go to their team, or the next, even like a UNC or a UVA, like that. That makes it much easier for them than it that does for you guys, and that it did for me. Like, I remember I was joked, right, that I think the most well-known company that came to recruit on campus was Waffle House when I was there, right? And nothing against Waffle House, but that was not the job I wanted, right? So if you want a job like that, like, it really is on you guys, right, to figure out, okay, who do I know? Are there any alumni from PC? First off, right? Are there any alumni from PC who work at any of these companies? Out of PC, I think I've had 3 people reach out to me. I hope all of you, obviously not at the same time, but like at some point, if you're interested in finance, if you're interested in banking, in anything, in whatever, just want to talk to me, like, feel free to reach out to people, because we're happy to help, and we know that there's a lot of potential coming out of PC. Like, I learned everything I needed to learn to get here, basically. I mean, obviously I went to grad school and whatever, but like, I was a good student at UNC in my grad school, and that's because of what I learned at PC. So PC gives you the right tools, but you really have to go out and figure things out by yourself. And I think Jonas himself, like, has done a really good job of that. He reached out to me, I don't even know, like 18 months ago, right?
Yeah,
And
I
I don't
think
know
it
how much.
was actually no, it's been about 2 years because I
2
reached
years
out when I was a sophomore. So yes, it's going on 2 years now.
2 years ago, I just got an email from someone called Jonas Ha from PC, right? I open it and it says, "Hi, I'm Jonas. I'm interested in this. Can we set up a call?" And yes, of course, right? And I think, like, don't sell yourself short in that sense. Like, PC really can give you the right tools you have, but then you have to take it to the next level. And like what Jonas and I did, we connected, we spoke on the phone. I think I was like a day after a long day of work. I probably was not very talkative, but when he emailed me the next time 6 months later and said, "Hey, I'm actually applying to internships. I've seen Bank of America has a research internship. Can I somehow get your recommendation to get in?" And what I did is, sure, it took me 5 minutes, get his resume, send it to the recruiter. "Please, this is a guy that I know. He has a good resume, is proactive, has reached out. Can we make sure we give him a shot?" And he made it to the final round of interviews and it didn't work out. But I think those shots you really do not get, like, unless you're coming from someone from the firm, right? Like, we get thousands of resumes for every single job, especially coming out of school, right? And they all look so incredibly similar. I mean, one way to think about it is put yourself in the place of the recruiter, okay, who has to go through 1,000 resumes. And if he or she picks someone from Yale, and that person ends up being horrible, no one's going to go back to her and say, "Hey, why did you pick this person?" Right? Because she can easily say, "Hey, you went to Yale, had a 3.8 GPA, studied math. Like, why would I, hard to say no to." But if this person's not good and they ask her, "Oh, Presbyterian College, I never heard of that." So if the recruiter is risk averse, he or she is just going to pick the people with the name from the school that they know, unless there's someone recommending them from inside the firm. So I really mean it. Like, to increase your chances dramatically of getting these jobs, you have to reach out to people, and it's almost the only way.
Yeah, and I mean, just to give my life experience, I've obviously been going down this path for a long time. Uh, every single time I've gone a good lead or something, it's always come out of networking with people. And there's not a lot of PC alumni in finance, but there's enough of them out there. So I definitely
But there are,
recommend.
and I keep finding them. Like, you just have to. LinkedIn is such a good tool nowadays that you can search by school, you can search by industry. Ask your professors, right? Like, there's professors at PC, really good professors that have been there for 25 years, right? And they know people that currently have good jobs at good companies, right? Like even the business school, you have the wall of cards out there, business cards. I don't know how updated it is, but like walk through it, take a look, write some names, reach out. And the worst thing that can happen, is that you write a bunch of emails and nothing comes back. It's unlikely that's the case. You'll have a couple of people for sure respond. And if nothing comes out of it, you're at least going to have two probably insightful conversations, enjoyable conversations, learn something new about some industry that you didn't know about before. So to me, it seems like a low risk thing to do with a pretty high potential.
No, that's absolutely amazing advice. So shifting a little bit from networking, what are some other things you can do that if you want to work in financial services, asset management, research, whatever, what are some things students can do at PC right now to help prepare themselves for that kind of career?
Yeah. The easiest one, stay in touch with news in general, geopolitical news, financial market specific news. That always helps. Financial markets we put it together into one, but it's such a broad industry, and there's so many different assets and so many different things that we touch, that it's hard to go say, okay, this is the textbook that will teach all you need to know. Like a lot of it is just becoming familiar with the different opportunities there are and like different markets there are, how related they are to each other. Like you might read an article on the Wall Street Journal that talks about why emerging market equities are likely to be winners in the second half of 2020 for these reasons. The dollar appears to be weakening versus a bunch of currencies. The number of COVID cases is likely to peak in emerging markets soon, and blah, 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 right? That's a perfect stepping stone into like, oh, interesting. I wonder what the dollar has to do with emerging markets, right? And go down that rabbit hole, and you'll probably spend 3 years on that rabbit hole. But it's a way of like challenging yourself all the time of, okay, this news article is talking about this. Do I understand this relationship that they're talking about? Do I understand why inflation being, low for the last 10 years has an effect of interest rates on like what my mortgage rate is going to be if I buy a house? Or do I understand why, I don't know, high unemployment means that there's likely to be a cap on inflation moving forward, right? Like little things like this that are just going to get you going and thinking about these relationships, which in the end financial market, it's a lot of it's interconnected, right? Like you have this, for example, last year or earlier this year when you had the whole OPEC conversations breaking down, and Saudi Arabia and Russia starting to compete with each other to see who could produce more oil, right? And oil ended up being negative, right? Like the price of oil being negative. You're like, what's going on? You just read that, and that can keep you entertained, and you can start learning about things of that sort, with whatever by yourself. I mean, there's some books I can recommend if that helps, but I think, I don't know, just having that curiosity to try to find an explanation for things is a really good step. More practical stuff is learn math, learn Python, R, any programming language you can, and learn the basics of economics and financial markets. That's like the more practical thing. But in terms of, just staying engaged, I think newspapers have a lot to offer, actually.
Absolutely. I mean, I read the Wall Street Journal every morning when I get to the office, so definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of synonymous. So yeah, you mentioned books. What are some good books that you'd recommend for someone who's interested in going down this path?
So some of my favorites, one thing I like a lot, and that I think is not taught in school and that is hard to find in newspapers, is how investors actually go about investing. Like few people will be able to tell you how a portfolio manager decides to allocate between his or her Apple shares and Brazilian real allocation, or like how he decides when does he get out of a position that's been making a lot of money, or how does the coupon he gets from buying treasuries get used in the rest of the portfolio. Like a lot of that doesn't really, it's not really shared widely, I think. So there's a bunch of books from Jack Schwager. They all have different names, but they're basically interviews to hedge fund managers. And he's written, I don't know, like 3 or 4 since the, I don't know, 1980s or something, with different interviews with some of the top hedge fund managers out there. Those books kind of blew my mind in terms of this is what's out there. This is what some of the best people in the industry are doing. And I've never heard anyone else talk about this. So I recommend looking into those. Jack Schwager, they're pretty cool. I'm reading one right now that I'm really enjoying. It's called, what's it called? Money Game? The Money Game, I think it's called, by Adam Smith, but it's not the Adam Smith. It's a nom de plume by someone that I think wrote a bunch of stories, trying not to be identified. And again, it's about just financial markets, like the inner workings of financial markets, how hedge funds interact with banks, how banks, like their trading desks, operate. Those are there's a couple of examples of books that I think talk about things that you're not going to find in other places, probably.
No, those are great. And I think I want to say the first that you're talking about, I think it's like a Masters of the Universe or something. I think is
Yeah,
what he
there's
calls
some
them.
with different names. I can't remember right now because I'm not home, but yeah, I can share them with you too, and if you can put them in the comments.
Sure, sure. And I know when we first talked 2 years ago, one book that you recommended to me, or an author, Nicholas Taleb. I can't remember his last name.
Yeah, Taleb is his last name. Yeah.
Oh, it's Nicholas. Okay, I thought that was a middle name. No, his books are absolutely amazing, and you told me to read some of those, and I did, and they're some of the best books I've read. And I've recommended them to a lot of people. So
yeah, those are good too. Yeah, Fooled by Randomness, I think, is the one that most people read, which is good. I think his latest one, I can't remember the title. I have really bad memory, which is not a good thing for my job, but I can't remember the title, but his last one was really good too. Yeah, those are good too.
I think the Black Swan or Black
Black
Swan event or
Swan's
something.
another one. Yeah.
Very relevant today.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, so kind of last question. You obviously are incredibly busy, and I'm guessing it's a really demanding schedule. What do you do for fun when you're not working?
What I do for fun? I I still play tennis. I love playing soccer as well. Anything sports related. I'm a big fan. I read a lot. I try to push myself to read things outside of finance, which is hard because I enjoy it and I feel like it's a higher return on investment to read finance. But I enjoy reading. And then my family's back home. I try to go back as often as we can. And I'm just super in touch with them and love it when I can go back. I like to travel too, but a lot of my travel ends up being to go back to Spain and hang out with them. But family is a big thing in Spain. We all grew up together in Madrid, and they're all there now. So yeah, I enjoy that.
It's great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Do you have any last words or last nuggets of wisdom to pass on?
No, just encouragement. I mean, I think, look, a lot of people have had their plans just gone completely sideways with this, with the pandemic and the lockdown and the work from home. And I know Jonas himself has had to redo a lot of his plans for the summer. My fiance, Courtney herself, she went to PC, played tennis at PC as well. She's doing her master's and also had an internship canceled. And I think this is actually a really, really good opportunity to stand out and find your own path. What one perk of this remote work is that there's a lot of companies out there that are happy to take you on, smart juniors, sophomores. They don't really care, right? They're happy to have smart people reach out. And it's so easy today to say, hey, actually, we have this project. We cannot pay you. We cannot call you an intern. Okay, so don't put in your resume as an intern. You can put in something else. You're definitely not going to get paid, but we need help, right? And you can sit on your desk at home and help them right there and be involved in things that Otherwise, if they tell you, oh, you have to fly to Montreal to come work with us and stay in an apartment and get a car and get a Canadian driving license, like all these frictions that would prevent you from working for free are not there anymore, right? So like, take this opportunity. If you still have time this summer, I think there's still a lot of companies that are happy to have people even for a month and a half, or once school goes back. Like, I think the opportunity to start working with other people outside of the traditional internships and jobs is there now much more than it's ever been. So, don't be discouraged by this. I get that, it's likely to be a trickier job market moving forward. A lot of plans have not worked out, but just take it as a chance to stand out and find your own way to make it work.
Awesome. That's really, really great words of advice. Gonzalo, again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today, and I hope that everyone who watched this video enjoys it. So again, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And again, feel free to reach out anyone that watches this from PC, and happy to help.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.